Boulder on Lot 8 doesn't appear to have been manipulated by any of the known earlier searchers. There's nothing in the record, which means we might be dealing with something that we know is untampered with.
A storm swept across Oak Island, bringing with it a moment no one could have anticipated. Standing at the edge of the dig site, Rick Lagina gazed down into the darkness below. His heart wasn't racing from the cold. It was the overwhelming sense that everything was about to change. For centuries, this island had guarded its secrets fiercely. It had drained fortunes, shattered dreams, and even claimed lives. Every attempt to uncover its truth had ended the same way, in failure. But today felt different. Deep beneath the surface, something long buried was finally within reach. Something ancient, hidden for hundreds of years, sealed away and untouched. For the first time in generations, that barrier was about to be broken. Rick didn't yet know what lay beneath his feet, but within moments, he would face a discovery that could rewrite everything we thought we knew about Oak Island, possibly even revealing a secret tied to the legendary Knights Templar, hidden since the early 1300s. And what lay beyond it had never been seen before. Before going any further, don't forget to like and subscribe, because what's coming next is almost impossible to believe. Nearly 140 feet below the island's rugged surface, the drills struck something unexpected. This wasn't loose rock or fractured limestone. It was smooth, unnaturally smooth. A perfectly flat stone, so precisely placed it looked designed rather than formed by nature. The crew fell silent. Rick stepped forward, brushing away damp soil with steady hands. His breath fogged in the cold air as he leaned in closer. This wasn't geology. This was intentional. Ground-penetrating radar quickly confirmed their suspicions. Behind the slab was empty space, a clean, rectangular void where none should exist. On the monitor, its outline glowed clearly, a hidden cavity just beyond reach. "It looks like a chamber," Marty said quietly. Rick shook his head. Not a chamber, a door. Analysis moved quickly. Traces of iron were found embedded in the stone, small fragments consistent with forged hinges. Not natural formations, but crafted metal. Even after centuries underground, the evidence of human workmanship remained. Rick's mind went back to a mysterious stone triangle discovered on the island in the 1800s, long dismissed as coincidence. But what if it wasn't random? What if it had been pointing to this exact location all along? The team exchanged glances. No one needed to say it out loud. The door described in old stories and whispered legends. It wasn't symbolic, it was real, and they were standing right in front of it. But this story didn't begin here. Long before European explorers arrived, indigenous Mi'kmaq traditions spoke of a hidden gate buried deep within the island, sealed by powerful forces of fire and water. A place not meant to be disturbed. A warning that suddenly felt all too real. Then came another clue. An old French journal from the 1600s. Its faded pages carried a chilling line. A stone door sealed with oil and blood. For years, historians dismissed it as myth. But now, just inches away, something matched that description almost perfectly. Rick and Marty began connecting the dots. This discovery aligned with medieval practices, where sacred objects and forbidden treasures were hidden beneath fortified structures, protected not by guards, but by design. Could Oak Island have been one of those places? A hidden sanctuary? A vault for something far greater? The team recalled old reports, strange lights flickering across the swamp and near the money pit over the years. Stories often dismissed as ghost tales, but standing there now, it felt different. Maybe they weren't hauntings. Maybe they were warnings or protection. One thing became clear. Oak Island wasn't just designed to keep people out. It had been built with purpose, blending belief, science, and secrecy into something far more complex than anyone had imagined. And the proof was carved into the stone itself. As they studied the slab more closely, intricate markings began to appear. Perfect circles, aligned stars, repeating crosses. These weren't random scratches or damage. They formed a system. Experts were brought in, and their findings were astonishing. The patterns resembled a cipher, a mechanical code believed to have been used by the Knights Templar to protect their most valuable secrets. Rick studied the alignment carefully, then froze. The carvings mirrored the night sky of the year 1307, the exact year the Templars were betrayed and hunted across Europe. Coincidence, or a timestamp carved in stone? The resemblance to Scotland's Rosslyn Chapel was undeniable. The same geometric precision, the same symbolic language. It was as if history had crossed oceans to leave a message here. Weeks of analysis led to a stunning conclusion. This wasn't decoration. It was a mechanism, a primitive locking system built into the stone, designed to open only with the correct sequence. Not just a door, but a coded gateway, and it had been waiting for over 700 years. To understand it further, LiDAR scans were used, peeling back layers of mystery. What they revealed left the team speechless. The slab wasn't simply buried, it was engineered, interlocked with gear-like structures that meshed perfectly with the surrounding bedrock. This wasn't a collapse, it was construction. Precise construction. Even more surprising, the hinge points contained metal, unlike anything native to the region. Analysis showed an alloy linked to medieval Iberian craftsmanship, regions once connected to the Templars. Marty raised a question. Could it have been built later by unknown settlers? But the evidence didn't support that. Radiocarbon testing of wooden supports sealed behind the slab dated back to between 1290 and 1310, exactly when the Templars disappeared. The conclusion was unavoidable. This wasn't colonial. This wasn't pirate work. This was medieval, and it had been there long before Columbus ever arrived. Estimates suggested the slab weighed over 20 tons. Moving something like this with such precision should have been impossible at the time. And yet, there it was. And yet, it stood, built to withstand water, pressure, and the relentless passage of time. Rick ran his hand gently over the ancient carvings one last time. "This isn't a trap," he said quietly. "It's a door. A door created with purpose, hidden with intention, and waiting for this exact moment in history." Then everything changed. As the drills cut into the edge of the slab, a sudden sharp hiss filled the chamber. Compressed air burst outward, like the final breath of something sealed away for centuries. The space beyond had been closed off so perfectly that even its air had remained trapped all this time. When the opening finally broke through, a strange breath escaped, thick, metallic, and stale. It carried traces of pitch, cedar oil, and something far more unsettling. Gas detectors immediately flared to life, warning of mercury vapor filling the confined space. Historians had long noted that the Knights Templar used mercury not only to preserve sacred objects, but also as a protective barrier against intruders. It was a warning, silent but impossible to ignore. Rick steadied the team. His voice was calm, but the weight of the moment was unmistakable. Whatever lay beyond this point had never been meant to be found. It had been protected by design, by oath, and by those who believed their secret was worth guarding, even beyond death. Still, they moved forward. The drills pressed deeper, and the stone slab groaned under the strain. Cracks spread across its surface like a web, dust rising into the beams of their lights. Finally, a piece broke free. Through the narrow gap, they saw it. Darkness. Not empty darkness, but something deeper. Something that felt present. From within, a fragment of oak was carefully retrieved. Later testing dated it to between 1290 and 1310, the exact period when the Knights Templar vanished from Europe, their fleets gone, and their knowledge seemingly erased. The connection was hard to dismiss. What had disappeared across the ocean may have been hidden here. Then, with one final push, the slab shifted. Grinding against its stone fittings, it gave way. The chamber opened fully, for the first time in centuries. Stepping inside felt like entering another world. The air was heavy, almost suffocating. Light spread across smooth walls coated in a lime-based plaster, an advanced waterproofing technique known in Mediterranean regions, but unheard of in this area during that time. Whoever built this knew exactly what they were doing. Faded red markings covered the walls, barely visible in the dim light. Circles resembling suns, crescent shapes, and a 7-pointed star emerged from the surface. Rick recognized the pattern immediately. It mirrored the ancient Seal of Solomon, a symbol associated with hidden knowledge and sacred protection. Wooden supports lined the passage, crafted with remarkable precision. The joinery was far more advanced than anything colonial builders could achieve. This wasn't the work of desperate treasure hunters. This was deliberate, organized, built by skilled hands following a larger plan. Then came the scent, faint but unmistakable. Not decay, but resin, oil, and something sweeter, like incense once used in ceremony. It lingered in the air. This wasn't just a tunnel, it was a ritual space. As they moved deeper, the passage opened into a domed chamber, and instantly, something felt different. The sound. Every step echoed and multiplied, filling the space. Even the slightest movement returned as a chorus. This room had been designed for acoustics, for voices, for chanting, for something meant to be heard and amplified. Rick swept his light across the walls. There they were, small, evenly spaced carved niches. Inside them were fragments, corroded blades, broken chain links, shards of painted pottery. Not random debris. Offerings. Remains left behind with purpose. The soil told the rest of the story. It was thick with ash, layers of burned material embedded deep into the ground. Later analysis would reveal traces of wood, bone, and oils not native to the region. This chamber had known fire. Not destruction, ritual. Flames had once filled this space, leaving behind a presence that still lingered in the air. At the center of the chamber stood something unmistakable. A raised stone platform. Perfectly shaped, too precise to be decorative. Grooves spiraled outward across its surface, carved with clear intent, as if something had once rested there in exact alignment. Rick knelt, running his fingers along the channels. "This isn't an altar," he said quietly. "It's part of a mechanism." That suspicion quickly became certainty. A crew member tapped the structure lightly with a metal rod. The sound that came back was deep and hollow. There was space beneath it. Another hidden chamber. As the dust settled, the floor began to reveal more of its secret. Beneath the surface lay interlocking stone panels, so tightly fitted they appeared seamless at first glance. But they weren't fixed. They were designed to move. Faint wear marks along the grooves suggested centuries of subtle shifting. Slowly, a pattern emerged, a labyrinth carved into stone. A puzzle. Rick recognized it immediately. Similar mechanisms had been documented in medieval structures linked to the Knights Templar, hidden systems that revealed passageways only when pressure was applied in the correct sequence. A chill ran through the team. This wasn't just engineering, it was intelligence. And with that realization came danger. Marty warned that a single wrong move could destabilize the entire chamber. If the system failed, a collapse would be immediate. But Rick saw it differently. This wasn't built to destroy those who understand it, he said. It was built to stop those who don't. Carefully, the team placed wooden supports at Keenacot, distributing weight with precision. Every move was calculated, every decision carefully debated. Then they made their move. A low rumble began to rise through the chamber. Dust drifted down from the ceiling as a section of the floor slowly slid backward, revealing something that had been hidden for centuries. The stone platform continued to move, slow, heavy, like a massive drawer carved straight from the earth. Torchlight spilled into the opening, exposing a narrow hand-cut staircase descending deeper into the unknown. The air changed instantly. A cold current rushed upward, sharper than before, as if the earth itself had just exhaled after centuries of silence. Step by step, the team made their way down. The passage grew tighter, leading them into a narrow corridor that ended suddenly at something both striking and deeply unsettling. Another barrier. A door. Not just any door, but a thick slab of oak reinforced with iron, sealed with layers of pitch that still gleamed dark even after hundreds of years. Heavy crossbars stretched across it, built not just for strength, but as a warning. This wasn't meant to keep something safe. It was meant to keep something contained. The details spoke volumes. The hinges bore a distinct double cross marking, the same symbol found on Templar graves scattered across Europe. A signature, a claim, proof. This place belonged to the Knights Templar. Above the doorway, carved into the stone, a Latin inscription remained perfectly preserved. Solus fidelis transit, indignus perit. Only the faithful may pass, the unworthy shall perish. For a moment, no one moved. But Rick Lagina didn't hesitate. He reminded the team that this had never been just about gold. Every discovery pointed to something far greater: protection, secrecy, and the safeguarding of something more important than wealth itself. Standing in that narrow passage, they weren't just opening a door. They were stepping into the heart of a design meant to endure for centuries. The door stood before them like a final test. Then the cutting began. Sparks burst into the air as plasma torches sliced through the iron crossbars. The sharp scent of burning metal filled the chamber. Each cut echoed through the stone, breaking a silence that had lasted for generations. It almost felt like the structure itself was resisting. One by one, the bars gave way, until the final one snapped free, crashing to the ground in a shower of glowing sparks. Then came the seal. A thick, tar-like pitch that had held the door shut for centuries. Heated blades cut into it, and with a sharp crack, it broke apart. A rush of air burst outward, but it wasn't foul. Instead, it carried a faint scent. Cedar, almost like incense preserved in darkness. Deliberate. Intentional. This chamber hadn't just been sealed, it had been preserved. The door creaked open, its hinges groaning under the weight of time, until a narrow gap appeared. Light poured inside, and what lay beyond stopped everyone in their tracks. Inside, shelves carved directly into the stone walls stretched across the chamber. Organized, precise, and on them, objects. Hundreds of them. Bronze vessels, clay containers, iron-bound chests, small shrine-like reliquaries, each placed with care and intention. This wasn't chaos, this was order. A vault designed like an archive. As the light moved deeper into the room, gold began to shimmer from every direction. Coins spilled from open containers. Bars were stacked in neat rows. Chalices caught the light with blinding brilliance. It was overwhelming. This wasn't scattered treasure. It was curated, arranged, cataloged by hands long gone. The team stood frozen, not just at the sight of gold, but at the realization of what had been preserved here. Carefully, they stepped inside. What followed would become one of the most extraordinary discoveries ever made. The first artifacts examined were ornate reliquaries crafted from gold and set with sapphires, rubies, and pearls. Their design suggested they once held sacred relics, perhaps bone fragments, pieces of holy objects, or remains of revered figures. If true, this chamber had protected items of immense spiritual significance. Below them, rows of gold ingots lined the shelves. But these weren't marked by British or Spanish empires. Instead, the symbols traced back to medieval Portugal, dating to the 12th and 13th centuries, the height of Templar influence. Individually, each piece was priceless. Together, they were beyond value. Nearby, wooden crates held sealed scroll tubes, their wax caps still intact. One had cracked slightly, revealing tightly rolled parchment inside. If preserved, these documents could contain lost records, trade routes, internal orders, or knowledge erased during the Templar Purge, proof that their network extended far beyond what history has recorded. Beside them lay ceremonial swords, their hilts encrusted with jewels, silver chalices lined with emeralds. Each piece told its own story, a fragment of a past hidden until now. These weren't everyday objects or tools of war. They were ceremonial, symbols of authority, devotion, and ritual. Their careful arrangement made one thing clear. This wasn't a storage room. It was sacred, a hidden treasury built to protect both faith and secrets. Early estimates placed the value of the discovery at over $90 million. But the truth was, its worth couldn't be measured in money. These artifacts belonged to a lost chapter of Christendom, objects that blurred the line between legend and reality. For historians, it was groundbreaking. For treasure hunters, it was the moment they had spent a lifetime chasing. But even as the team took it all in, their scanning equipment revealed something unexpected. Something more. Behind one section of the chamber wall, the readings began to shift. The density changed. There was empty space beyond it. Not a small pocket, but something much larger. The outlines hinted at additional rooms, sealed chambers, possibly an entire hidden network that had remained silent for centuries. Then came the most striking detail. On the far wall, another shape emerged, carved into the stone. But this wasn't like the oak and iron door they had just opened. This one was massive. The chisel marks were still visible, preserved through time, outlining an entrance far greater in scale. And while the chamber they stood in held treasures arranged with precision, this second doorway suggested something entirely different. Something bigger. Not just a vault, but an archive. A place built to store knowledge, relics, and secrets far too vast for a single room. Rick Lagina studied the markings carefully, his expression growing more serious as the realization sank in. "This isn't just treasure," he said quietly. "This is preservation." Piece by piece, it started to make sense. This chamber wasn't meant to hold riches alone. It's part of something much larger, something far more ambitious. A hidden archive, possibly created by exiled members of the Knights Templar. Not just to protect their wealth, but to safeguard their knowledge, their beliefs, and their secrets. What they had uncovered might be only a small part of the whole, a fragment of a much larger system. A network that could stretch across oceans, connected to other hidden sites, other lost chapters of history that had been erased over time. The implications were staggering. This wasn't just a discovery, it was a doorway into a deeper mystery. One that could challenge everything we thought we knew about the medieval world, and reveal just how far the reach of the Knights Templar may have extended long before the age of exploration even began. If you found this story fascinating, don't forget to like and subscribe to the Timefold channel, because there's always more waiting to be uncovered.